All right, this is the third on my Great Southwest Walk. So I finished a day or two ago. I'm back home now. Got my camera assistant Samantha holding the phone for me. So the walk, as I did it, I did over 10 days. I don't know, it could be anywhere from 230 to 250 k's depending on which sign you read. I haven't added up my All Trails figures. I'm thinking it's around 240 k's via Mount Richmond, maybe even closer to 250. If you go up the beach, it's probably a little bit shorter and omit the Mount Richmond kind of inland loop or inland kind of variant. Having said that, I think Mount Richmond was really good. I love the koalas up there, and Tarragle Camp was really nice too. So yeah. So highly recommend it. 10 days, you could do it. You could probably do it in 8 if you really wanted to push. You could go as quick as you want. I suppose you've got to run it. Most people would probably take 10 to 13 days, I guess. 10 days was what worked for me. Some days I doubled up, some days I just did single kind of camps. As far as gear goes for this one, I won't go into too much detail, but I'll just talk about what I swapped out. So for this one, I swapped out my Windrider, my black pack, my 60 litre pack, and used this 50 litre pack, which was enough for the Great Southwest Walk. I was only carrying 3 days food at one time. The reason I did that was pretty much because I finally got my black one after 4 or 5 years into remote repairs, getting the pockets and a few things just fixed up on it. So I haven't got it at the moment. So I had to use this one instead, which was fine. So yeah, that's about all the gear I swapped out. I used my lightweight quilt that's good down to about 3 or 4 degrees. Didn't push it at all on this walk. Barely even had the quilt done up most nights. Everything else worked well. So because I was only carrying 3 days food, that obviously means I was doing food drops. So I did 3 food drops. And once again, I got plenty of time. You know, if you're not retired like me, could be a little bit harder. But I did a food drop at Moleside, a food drop at Nelson, and a food drop at Tarragle. Yeah, which meant that I never had more than, I think, 3 days, 3 days worth of meals with me at any one time. And sometimes I was only carrying 2, which made it easier for me. Some people do 1 food drop at Nelson. Some people probably blast through and carry everything the whole way. There used to be a kiosk at Nelson where you could buy like basic stuff. When I say kiosk, it was like a general store. That's closed. That's not open anymore. So there's nowhere to buy anything like food in Nelson, except for the pub. Obviously, you can go to the pub and there's a roadhouse you can go if you want to buy a hamburger or chips or something like that. But there's no general store it sells general groceries in Nelson anymore. So don't rely on resupplying there. But you can get a feed there at night if you stop there. There's not much else. So there's some accommodation. I stayed at a place called Casuarina Cabins. There's a couple of caravan parks. I think one's got cabins, one's just camping, or for caravans. The pub used to have accommodation. I didn't check it out this time. I was at this other place. There's a few places to stay if you want a night from off camping at Nelson, which I'd recommend, but each to their own. Some people would probably rather save the money and camp out at Simpsons Camp, which is only about 3 k's out of Nelson. Simpsons? Yeah, Simpsons Camp, yeah. As far as other facilities on the walk, there's nothing up through the forest. There's a little caravan park as you leave Portland on the Dutton Way, but the shop wasn't open when I went through. There's nothing then until you get to Nelson. And then once you leave Nelson, start heading back along the coast, there's nothing for the whole beach as far as commercial facilities until you get to the headlands around Cape Bridgewater. Cape Bridgewater's got a kiosk. Highly recommend a feed there. The food it's not your usual dim sims and soy sauce. It's a good feed. So highly recommend the kiosk at Cape Bridgewater. There's also accommodation at Cape Bridgewater if you wanted a night not camping. So keep that in mind. You could probably check out Airbnb or something along those lines. And then for me, it was the next day. Is Cape Nelson. And there's a restaurant or cafe at the lighthouse at Cape Nelson. Now, it looks a bit trendy for me. I didn't go in, but people are saying, no, if you can find it open, you can go in. But not only did it look trendy, but it was closed when I went through. People are saying online that it's closed a fair bit. So don't rely on that one for a feed. But if it is open, you can, if you think you're suitable clientele, then you can go in. There's also accommodation at Cape Nelson in the lighthouse quarters that you can pre-book, I believe. I've never done it. I wouldn't mind doing it, but I just never got around to it. That's it. So there's basically Nelson, Cape Bridgewater, there's a bit, and Cape Nelson, there's a little bit, but not much. The rest of the walk, you're kind of out on your own. As far as mobile service on this walk, if anyone wants to keep in touch with people back home or do their socials, the mobile service is surprisingly good. Most days you'll have some service, and quite often you'll have enough service you can get online and check weather or the Vic Emergency app or whatever you want to check. Not always at the campsites, but generally most days you'll pick up something, and that's for the whole, whether it's the forest or the river or the beaches or the headlands. The track standard on this one is good. It's I think I said on one of the socials, it reminds me a bit of a mini bib in all respects. The landscape, the forests and the beaches and the headlands and the rivers, but also the track standard. It's a very well maintained track. It gets a little bit scrubby along the coast and the heathlands occasionally, but generally not much. It's mostly super well maintained and super well marked. So it's a walk that if you're not super experienced at overnight hiking and you're trying to get a bit of experience, before you head to the high country or something, this is a good would be a good walk. It's got everything you need. The camps that you camp at have generally 2 tanks. They have a 3-sided shelter with a picnic table inside it. They have another picnic table outside the shelter. They have a toilet. And there's plenty of flat spaces. Now, those camps are meant to be pre-booked with Parks Vic, which I did. But yeah, they're very well set up, a bit like the bib. You can't sleep in these shelters unless you sleep on the table. I didn't really use them much, but for planning the walk, I used Mr. Chapman, the Chapman's notes, John and Monica Chapman's notes out of their Bushwalking Australia book. I think that goes back to about 2005 maybe. That's 20 years old, and there are a few issues. There are a few things different on the walk now that were back in the early 2000s. They've obviously extended the walk and made detours off roads and that, so the walk's longer than the Chapmans say. Some days, one day was 4Ks longer, one section was 4Ks longer than it was back in the Chapman's days. The other notes that I've used before but didn't use this time are John and Lynn Daly's notes out of their Victorian Take a Walk in Victoria book, I think it's called. But they're pretty much as old as the Chapman's notes, so they're pretty much, they're good, but they're not spot on. I got the Meridian Topo, the latest Meridian Topo in Portland before I left, and that was pretty much spot on. And that's a good map. It's basically for the Great Southwest Walk, so it's worth finding. I say it's the Meridian map. The track, like I've alluded to, the track is suited to most walkers. You could, from first time through hikers to reasonably experienced walkers like me, have done a little bit. I still loved it. I've done it, excuse me, I've done it before, and I'd actually forgotten it was 20 years ago. I've done it as a through hike with Sam, as a section hike with Sam. I'd actually forgotten how enjoyable it was and how pretty and stunning the scenery is. I was quite pleasantly surprised to be reminded how good it was. So it's definitely suitable for people that haven't got a lot of experience. The other thing with this track is it's suitable for, there's a guided, I think the Friends of the Great Southwest Walk run a guided trip that my friend Petra's done. I'm not sure whether it runs, how often it runs, whether it's just once a year or once or twice a year. The other option with this walk is like, you can do a section of it. So you could do the forest section over, 4 days, 5 days, or you could do day sections with car shuttles. There's a lot of access points on this walk to get in and out of it, and there's a lot of options on how you do this walk, and none of them are right or wrong. Do what suits you. So yeah, look, that was my Great Southwest Walk. If there's any questions, I've missed stuff. No doubt I've missed stuff because I spent a whole 3 minutes preparing for this. Fire away in the comments section. Just, as usual, the usual caveat, just be aware that I might be out walking. Might take me a while to get back to you. All right, I will catch you on the next one. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed the Great Southwest Walk, and thanks for tuning in. Take it easy.